It's, obviously there's a lot of different protocols as far as safety and security and that. But what Marc has created in this virtual community of over 150 groups, specialized niche groups based on different professions and industries and the specialties, which we're going to talk about. Through those groups, I have met some really, truly incredible people who have also already been on the show, who will be on this show, and who I am talking to about doing collaborations into 2021 and into next year. And had I not been a part of this WhatsApp group by a special invitation, I would not have made these connections. So it's really super cool for me to welcome Mr. Marc Jarrett on the Raw&Unscripted show. What's going on, Marc? How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm really charged after that intro. Nice to meet you, Christopher. Warm greetings from the still just United Kingdom.
Yes, you guys are over in the UK across the Atlantic pond, man. Nice to meet you. I've already met you before, dude. We know each other. But I just have massive respect for what it is that you've created, literally in the sanctuary of your own office. In the intro there, Marc, I was talking about, the virtues of networking and the importance of that. Talk to us about what the experience has been for you. You've already been a powerful networker before this. Talk about the experience here in COVID and what you've created with the WhatsApp groups to expand that networking now virtually.
Sure. Well, I've actually been networking all my life. I just enjoy connecting people. It's in my DNA. It's just that now, as I enter the third and final chapter of my career, I'm doing it professionally. And I've been extolling the virtues of virtual networking long before coronavirus came along. It's got huge advantages versus in-person networking because it's free. We pay the internet anyway. It's an essential utility. It's clean, no carbon footprint. We're not driving and flying to places. But best of all, it's globality. Because if you attend a networking event in Chicago, you're only going to meet people from the Illinois area. Whereas online, literally, the world is our oyster. Sally Anderson brought us both together. She's 12,000 miles away from me. For me to go and see her in person would cost a ton of money, a ton of carbon, and a ton of time. This way, I meet her regularly. And irrespective of the pandemic, virtual networking rocks. But now that we are in a pandemic, it's the only way to network.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, Marc. And, something that I think about when Sally first approached me, she's like, hey, do you want to become a part of this networking group? And excuse me. Honestly, I was kind of like, the way she had spelled it out, it was like, it seemed like it was exclusive. It seemed like it was private. It seemed like, it was like all these, big players around the world. And at first I was kind of intimidated. I think I even shared that with you a little bit, like a little intimidation. What do you say to people who might be intimidated about virtual networking? They've already I know for me, when I would go to a networking event, as much as I am confident and as much as I love speaking in front of people, I would still go to a networking event going, oh God, I gotta go. Okay. I'd have to put myself in the mindset. Okay. I gotta go in there and all these people are going to try to sell me something. They're going to be doing these things, or I have to speak up and say, here's what I offer and different things of that nature. What advice do you have for people who have that apprehension about getting involved in networking, whether it's in person or here virtually?
Hire me. I can network on your behalf. Some people are intimidated by networking, a bit like public speaking. It's not really their thing. But I did a poll on LinkedIn a few months ago. Do you enjoy networking? And there were 3 options. One of them is no, it's not really my thing. 2 is yes, but I just don't have the time. And the third was yes, networking rocks. And 50%, half of the people said networking rocks. So most people are receptive and enjoy networking, but there are some out there that don't enjoy it and find it a little bit intimidating. If you're one of those, then I would say just be yourself. Us human beings are hardwired to grow our tribes. We are social creatures. And what we're all collectively going through right now is a kind of shared trauma, and there's an added sense of urgency now, or to connect with fellow human beings, because we're all holed up at home. We're not out and about as much as we once were. So it's even more important now than ever to keep those human connections going. And business, at the end of the day, Chris, boils down to two things, and that's people and trust. So what I'm doing is building and curating these ecosystems in which people feel safe to interact with one another, and then enter into friendships, sure, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a businessman, so ideally I want them to morph into ultimately business relationships or transactions. But I'm in no hurry. It's all about building up those connections. That's why I'm a little bit anti multi-level marketing. Excuse me, because multi-level marketing is transactional from the get-go.
Yeah,
and that's why you find people involved with multi-level marketing. It's they want to do the deal straight away, whereas I'm the opposite of that. I'm all about building up those relationships first, and then the money will come later, kind of thing. So that's that. My ethos, by the way, is diversity and inclusion.
Yeah.
So you mentioned about you felt a little bit intimidated. Yes, there are some heavy hitters in the VIP group that you're in, for example. Nouriel Roubini, one of the world's leading economists. His nickname is Dr. Doom. He charges $100,000 per speech. He's a heavy hitter. You always know the heavy hitters because they've got their own Wikipedia page. But I do mix it up, and it's important that people that you and I learn from people like him.
Mm-hmm.
So earlier on today, I spoke to a young black lady. I'm an old white man. I love all that. Keep it diverse, keep it inclusive. The other thing that's important to me is the mindset of open, random, and supportive, ORS. And it's the antithesis of corporate thinking, because corporates tend to be quite closed and secretive.
Oh yeah.
Whereas I'm the precise opposite. I'll tell you all my shit, warts and all, and I'm finding that people who have suffered trauma, my trauma was that my mother was an alcoholic, and my father raised me, and through that pain I became a gambling addict. I was addicted to slot machines for many years to mask the pain. But it's all relative. Some people have suffered far worse than that. But in broad strokes, I'm finding that people that do suffer trauma of some sort in their lives, they often come out the other side stronger human beings as a result. And our mutual friend Sally is a perfect example of that. Yeah. So
Sally rocks. Oops, you froze there for a second.
Thing that I feel quite strongly about is some of my groups are aimed at women. I find it shocking that women are paid less than men for doing the same job. I mean, hello, who do we think we are? Also, just 3% of venture capitalists are women. So in some ways, it still is a man's world, but it really has improved in my lifetime. But there's still room for improvement. And I think recent events on the global stage have demonstrated that women are, in fact, arguably better leaders than men. The way some of the countries have handled the pandemic, those that have handled it well are actually led by women. So yeah, women rock.
I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more, Mark. I mean, I was raised by a single mom, so I grew up without a dad, and I know firsthand how powerful really women are. And it's crazy because most of my friends all my life have been women. I was just connected with another powerful woman yesterday, and I was thinking about the WhatsApp group, and you were telling me like, okay, once I get a woman in there, then they can invite me in there. Cause I'm like, I'd rather, and I shouldn't say this, I wouldn't rather, but I have a lot more fun hanging out with women, powerful women, in doing that, because they're resilient. I mean, the things that they go through and the things that they deal with and how they still bounce back and how they're still, raising the bar on what it is that's possible. And I love the fact that the leaders of the world, who are women, are doing a fantastic job. The Prime Minister down in New Zealand. Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic.
Jacinda!
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And that's what I love about your WhatsApp groups is there's opportunities for the women, powerful women, to get in there and to engage with one another globally. Where else can you find that? And kind of stepping back to the situation of networking and being apprehensive about it. One thing that I tell people, even for me and being outgoing and everything else, they're like, you struggle with networking? I'm like, yeah, I said, for me, it's just the awkwardness. Like, okay, we're going in there to do these things. But I would tell my friends, and I'll be like, okay, here's what I do. I stand outside the door and I say, okay, here's my goal. I want to go in there. I'm going to go in there and introduce myself to at least 10 people and have 10 meaningful 5-minute conversations. And if nothing comes out of that, then at least I came here and I tried. And so I would go in there and make it some sort of a little bit of a game. And, it'd be weird and awkward. But ultimately I got stronger, and ultimately I started playing with it. I'm like, okay, I want to go in there and I'm going to be like the center of attention. I'm going to be the weird guy and kind of break up the awkwardness of people standing there and going, we're standing in our two groups, like, oh, we should go talk to people, and kind of like creating like a dating situation or something like that. I'll just say something funny and kind of bring it all out. But what I do love about virtual networking, what I really want to share with the people that are watching this, and thank you guys for watching this either live on the replay, we appreciate you definitely very much, is the virtual spot is, Mark, is that I can go in there and I can be a part of that group, and I can sit back and I can kind of, see what's going on. I can kind of see, where potentially the egos are, see, what kind of materials being offered. I don't have to necessarily feel awkward. I can kind of be a voyeur for a second and kind of see how the vibe of everything's going, and then jump in. And also another thing for me is that, the relationships of meeting those like-minded people and having those offline conversations out of that networking group has been, so significant in everything that I'm planning for 2021. What are some of your thoughts on that? In getting into the groups, we're going to send out an invitation for people to join this, or we're going to ask them to email me. You and I didn't talk about this, but they can email me or email you to get into this group. But what are some of your recommendations when people do start virtually networking to make them successful?
To take an interest, we've got two ears and one mouth. Talk about them. Ask, take a genuine interest in what they are, who they are, what they do, and that way they'll take an interest in you. People do like people who are genuinely interested in what they do. So in a networking environment, it's always best to just listen first before talking about yourself, and then try and connect dots and help them. I just try and help people if I can, and I'm a pay it forward kind of guy. Life is a boomerang, and do good unto others, and they will do good unto you. Sure, there's bad eggs, but I try and keep my WhatsApp groups clean. I do some vetting. LinkedIn plays a key role in all of that. But I actually call LinkedIn the world's least social network.
Why is that?
Because the interaction is stilted. It's not direct. Whereas WhatsApp is a conduit between LinkedIn and places like Remo and Zoom. I actually wearing the Remo t-shirt today. I helped launch it last year, and it's like Zoom on steroids. And I've got a 24-hour always open lounge called the VIP Lounge in Remo, where people can just drop in ad hoc and network their ass off, as you would say, Christopher.
Their kick-ass off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you showed me around, and I was really super impressed. That was actually one of my questions that I had built up in here. I was really impressed at how technology has afforded the opportunity to make it as realistic as possible with
Mm.
having the setup and having the familiarity of being in the ballroom or being in the main seating area and then going to the breakout sessions and seeing the screens and doing all that stuff. Really, technology and people have done a tremendous job with facilitating something that's realistic. So I personally have not yet done it. So I'm excited to do that with you and jump into that. But I was really, really impressed with all of that and the fact that we're able to do this from the comfort of our own home and really just like set ourselves in process for what's going to happen in the future. Most people are thinking about right now and getting through right now. I'm thinking about next year. I'm thinking about collaborations and things of that nature. But one of the things I really love about your groups also, Mark, is the fact that there's diversity. I mean, you have over 150 groups. Talk to us about some of the niche markets that are in there that might really appeal to the viewers and the watchers of the show right now.
Well, there's a WhatsApp group for everyone. And if there isn't, then I'll go ahead and create one. So this might be biotech, nanotech, oil and gas, super yachts, hashtag follow the money, education, mental health,
cannabis industry.
Most of my groups have got a kind of business goal, but some of them I've actually created altruistically. Like one of them is all about stopping human trafficking. I don't want to make money out of that. I just want to stop human trafficking. But most of them have got a commercial prerogative, if you like. The automotive, automotive is all about the automotive industry. So I put a guy that is one of the senior Ferrari car dealerships. He's the group leader in that because he's better connected within the automotive industry than I am.
Oh yeah.
So what I do is sometimes make people that are really well connected within that particular space, just kind of leader of that group. And then they, be much more likely to be well connected within that particular sector. I created one group as a joke. It was the avocado group.
Seriously? I didn't see that one.
Yeah, it's kind of secret.
I don't know about it. Oh, I want to be in the avocado group.
Yeah, no, it's not on the official menu, but strangely, and by the way, avocado bombing is a thing.
Avocado bombing?
It kind of morphed into this weird avocado utopia. That particular group. But then, strangely, about a month ago, someone involved in the avocado industry came into my life. And who knows? She's now in that group. Maybe I can broker some sort of huge avocado transaction. But that surely wasn't that was not the intention when I first created it. In some ways, the more niche the subject matter is, the better, because that way you're more likely to have a meeting of minds. So tech won't cut the mustard, but agri-tech or fintech or sex tech. I mean, sex tech is a thing. It's a $40 billion thing. And Heather, who's in the in the group that we're both in, she's the sex tech goddess. And it's great to see a woman disrupting an industry which historically has been dominated by men.
Pardon the pun, dominated. I don't think I've made it to the sex tech group just yet, but that's what I love about it, Mark, is there's so many opportunities. Like I was telling my other buddy, actually, no, I did my walk and talk this morning. And I talked about doing this interview that'll air tonight. Is I said, I said there's a group in there for the cannabis business industry. And I'm
marijuana magic.
Yeah, I'm not in the business, but I am so intrigued by both cannabis and its applicability in healing us, and also just the commerce of it, because my former life was director of operations, supply chain management. So seeing that business commerce happening and the conversations happening within that group is really inspiring to see how what was thought of as weed is now really a legitimate industry that is going out there and attacking big pharma and making a difference in the lives of people. I thought that was fantastic that you had facilitated that group to come into fruition, and seeing the conversations that go in there, Mark, are really high level. So it's really cool to see. And I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, like, okay, this sounds great, Chris and Mark, this opportunity to meet all these people, this private group, the yacht owners and everything. How much is this going to cost me, Mark? What's the price of admission to get into this exclusive club?
Okay, going back to marijuana briefly, there's a coffee shop in Arnhem called Joint Venture. Genius. What a name for a coffee shop. Joint Venture, love it. To answer your question, it's all free.
Exactly.
No charge. At the moment, several people have suggested to me that I should start charging for access to the network. But at the moment, it's free. I make my money by teaching people how to network virtually. And if they retain my services, then I give them access to my extraordinary network, which include amazing people like Christopher Rausch. Have you heard of him? Yeah.
You rock, dude. Thank you. I'm going to use that as a soundbite. Yeah. No, but it is so true. It is so true, Mark. And sometimes I think, especially as a coach, and thinking about how much coaching I've given away, because much like you said the magic words, pay it forward. When I got into coaching originally and legitimately, I got in it to do it to help people. I was like, okay, I'm going to take all of the shit I've been through in my life, and I'm going to make it mean something by coaching these people and helping them, and literally the agreement of my contract with them was that I'll coach you for as long as we need to do to get over these issues. And in the meantime, you're going to go pay it forward to 3 complete strangers and make their life better. Whether it's giving, food to a homeless person, volunteering, whatever it is you might be able to do. And it was a great experience. But when I started realizing that, people weren't paying me that value, that trade, that reciprocity of, services versus something that causes you to have to fork over some dough, I did realize that the results weren't as spectacular if they weren't investing in that. So I could definitely see how monetizing, that WhatsApp group could be beneficial, or creating like a premier sector of that. But, for everybody watching right now, you have to realize that you make an investment and you put something into something, you're going to get out of it what you get into it. And for me, Mark, I know that connecting with everybody in the groups sometimes can be overwhelming, but at the same time, you don't have to do it all the time. So what are some of your tips for people to virtually network? Because you said before, some people just don't have the time. What is a reasonable amount of time for somebody to network professionally, to grow themselves and to grow their business or their revenue?
I wouldn't put a hard number on it. It's up to the individual. What I would say is engage from time to time. When new members come into the groups, welcome them. Say, hi, I'm Chris, and include your LinkedIn URL so they can see what you're doing. LinkedIn actually plays quite a key role in all of this, because, of course, it's the ultimate brochure. I mean, I know from looking at your LinkedIn earlier on that you spent most of your life in the Professional Association of Driving Instructors for heaven knows how many years, over 20 years, right?
26.
Yeah, 26 years. So it's the ultimate resume. It's LinkedIn, and it's a powerful search engine in its own right. I was recently asked to go and find someone who could help with the distribution and storage of diesel in Hungary. I mean, talk about a kind of needle in the haystack job. I had a quick look at my network. I found, I think, 45 people in Hungary, but no one was involved in logistics. So I used LinkedIn. I searched for Hungary logistics, and sure enough, I found the right person, and that resulted in a deal being done with Universal Pictures, who wanted to have that diesel stored and distributed in Hungary. So again, another example of really, really niche requirement, but in some ways, the more niche, the better, because once you do find someone that can store and distribute diesel, they're much more likely to be receptive to doing a deal.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you never know when that's going to crop up again. That's one thing I look at, is like, I may meet somebody who does something that completely doesn't near or do anything with my industry, but you know, people will come to me like, hey, Chris, do you know anybody, you know, in the cannabis industry? I'm like, oh, okay. You know, I do, I know these people, or be able to make that introduction. Um, and you've said it a few times, and I want to touch on this for a second, is the power of LinkedIn, and what that really can mean for somebody, both personally, obviously, and professionally. That's the most important aspect of what LinkedIn brings. I know for me personally, looking back on that 26-year career, I, at times, you know, I networked, but I didn't network. In looking back, I should have been a much more aggressive networker, to build that community up, so that when I did decide to exit that particular corporate career, if I was ready to go into another corporate job, I had connections, but I did not have the amount of connections that I should have had, given the fact of, if something unexpected happened, can you reach out to 10 people in your industry and say, hey, listen, I just got out of a job. Is there something you can do? Can you put in a good word for me? And I recognize that, Mark, out of being, when I left the corporate job, I was still attempting to get back into it. I was going to go for a vice president position. And in looking at my connections and everything, I was like, you know what? I didn't really do that great of a job in networking. What does it take really for LinkedIn for the person to make LinkedIn successful for them? What are some of the key factors in working LinkedIn? Because I know we think about Facebook and all the other things, but LinkedIn is an entity unto its own. So what are some strategies that people can do to have that good resume when they go into the WhatsApp group and start networking?
Write articles. Position yourself as a thought leader in the industry, or the in the career that you're active in. Engage with other people on LinkedIn, comment on their posts. And I'm actually hosting another post party tomorrow. And we did one last week. It was very successful. A post party confuses the fuck out of the LinkedIn algorithm, because what we do is then post each other's articles and comments, what they call posts, sorry, at the same time. We like and engage. The algorithm of LinkedIn is really clever. You know, if you write something like great posts, that won't cut it. But if you write an insightful comment based on what that person has written, you'll get, if you like, upgraded. And this if we all post and share at the same time, it turbocharges your posts into the stratosphere, because it's then going to your second and third tier on LinkedIn. So that's a little bit of a growth hack for you.
I want to be at a post party. I didn't know about post parties.
Well, I'm going to send you the post party group, and yeah, that's where we just like, share, and comment on each other's material. The other thing would be LinkedIn polls can be quite an interesting way to get new people into your network. But just engage with them when they respond to your polls. Polls can be they're higher ranked than a typical post, because they get put into the polls section, and other people. I'm a bit of I've got a very curious mind, so. And that's why I'm a bit of a LinkedIn polls fetishist. So I've been posting lots of LinkedIn polls, and that's a great way to get into people into your network. Also, you can send voice messages on LinkedIn, and the human voice is much more intimate, if you like, than all this countless texting.
Let me touch on that for just a sec, Mark. I hate to interrupt you, but just that alone, dude, seriously, I've done it a little bit on LinkedIn. I admittedly, raising my hand, I've not been the best LinkedIn person in the last couple of months. When you said articles, I'm like, Sally told me, like, Chris, you should be writing articles. You're writing. So now that I'm writing the book, I actually should do articles. But what you just said about the voice on Facebook has been one of my best connectors as far as coaching and getting coaching clients and developing relationships for me. But when I looked down one day, I was ready. I got the friend request. I was ready to say, hey, thank you very much for the friend request. You know, looking forward to get to know you. And I was like, microphone. And I clicked the microphone. I was like, hey, I'm like, send them a minute message, send them a 2-minute message. And then all of a sudden they would come back and be like, oh my God, hey, it was so great to hear your voice. I've seen your shows. That was a really nice connection factor. That suggestion, Mark, has been stupendous for me in really creating a great first impression. So I love that you brought that up, and trying to really make it more of a physical situation rather than a digital situation and give it more personality.
Right.
I love it when people do it to me. Very seldom do people do it to me. When they do it, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. They want to take that extra step. So I just really wanted to highlight that fact of interjecting your personality into the conversation is really truly magnificent. So thank you. Sorry, I want to have you keep going on.
Absolutely. And also, if you introduce me to people, or vice versa, in the cover note, when you're reaching out to people on LinkedIn, you've got 300 characters of text to play with for the introduction. Say something like, Mark tells me you rock. Yeah. And something to make it a bit more personal than a generic LinkedIn invite. One thing that I'm quite anal about are LinkedIn URLs, because about half the people out there have got these Christopher Rausch 062 578 139B. It drives me nuts. All you have to do is go to your LinkedIn profile, top right hand corner, you'll see edit profile and URL. Click through, click on the pencil next to your URL, get rid of those horrible numbers and letters, and call yourself Raw and Unscripted, or Christopher Rausch. If that's taken, use your middle name. But get rid of those horrible letters and numbers, please, people.
Preach it. Yes, it's so true. It's so true. I changed mine to No Excuses Coach. I think that's what it was Christopher Rausch, and having to try to spell my name and everything. So it's like the LinkedIn / No Excuses Coach. It was interesting, and also at brands. And when you copy and paste that, it lends to a little bit more professionalism and thought into your.
It's all about branding. And yeah, I mean, it's not imperative. I mean, technically, your URL with all the funny letters and numbers will work, right. But it's just sexier to have a URL which aligns with your brand.
Absolutely. And then we just touched on two important words. The same word that I was really interested to talk to you about. Something that I've been very interested in myself is branding. Talk to us about the importance of having a brand, whether it's just you're a sole worker on your own, trying to find a job or trying to find connections, or as a business person, a B2C or a B2B. How important is your personal brand as well as your company brand?
Well, we're on an equal playing field now, and there's a whole army. Most of your listeners are probably in business for themselves. They're entrepreneurs. They are all their own brands. So do something that makes you stick out. My brand is this Jasper Conran striped jacket. By the way, you can still find bargains in charity shops. But it's like TK Maxx. I think you guys call it TK something.
TJ Maxx.
TJ Maxx. Why the difference? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Okay, but yeah, or maybe
I don't know.
Wear a hat, or
bandana, or look like a rock and roll guy.
Yeah, do whatever floats your boat. Do something that makes you stand out from a crowd, because ultimately we are all brand ambassadors to ourselves. So you've got a really punchy brand, Chris. I love your corporate identity. I mean, that raw and unscripted with the cogs there at the back. Love all that. I'm also a big fan of strap lines. Nike's strap line is my ethos. Just do it. I like just doing stuff. I don't like to-do lists. And I'm a big fan of strap lines. There was a
strat line. Is that like a
slogan?
Slogan. Okay, just want to make sure we don't use that terminology here in the U.S. So it's more like tagline or
So Stella Artois, the Belgian beer company, they had a brilliant one, reassuringly expensive, which I quite like. And mine actually, I thought of it in the shower a few months ago, is net full stop, working full stop.
Bam. Simplicity at its finest.
Yeah, keep it short and sweet and simple. Do you have one? What's your slogan?
My slogan, we changed it actually. Sally, was reinvent. Let me see. Let me just go over here. Your no excuses coach, reinvent your life, empower your potential, excel your new dimensions. Time to live a kick-ass life with no regrets. But the normal tagline that I use is that, and this came out of a very expensive mastermind group, was I help people overcome their self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. And so that was one of them. The other thing that was like, when people say, what are they going to get when they get Christopher? I would say, just imagine Tony Robbins and George Carlin at an AC/DC concert. That kind of like, okay, okay, that pretty much, if you know who George Carlin is and Tony Robbins is at an AC/DC concert, like, okay, this guy is going to be pretty fucked up, but he's going to be a lot of fun, and be raw and truthful. And for me, honestly, Mark, branding, when I think about everything, I've been saying this a lot lately, this fly your freak flag. Sometimes I say it wrong. Fly your freak flag, be who you are. I mean, I'm going to be 52 in February. And this journey that I've been on up until this point has been partially trying to be somebody who I wasn't, to get validation, to earn money, to have a job, to do all these things to make other people happy. And there's definitely one aspect of free falling into entrepreneurship and really truly being the coach that I know I can be, and being the speaker I can be, and the facilitator I can be, and the show host that I can be, is just being who you are, because it's exhausting trying to be somebody who you're not. All that pretentious stuff, all that fake stuff, all that putting on the proverbial masks is exhausting. And for me personally, I tell people to go fly their freak flag. I've had more people in the last 3 or 4 months just say, Chris, you seem so energetically happy. What is it? I'm like, I wake up every day and I don't have to pretend to be anybody else that I'm not. I don't have to. I could be who I am. If you like me, great. If you don't, then good luck. I know
it cuts through all the bullshit, doesn't it?
It does. And that we don't have time for all that other crap. I'd rather know, within 5 minutes of meeting somebody, whether I'm going to like them or not, whether we're going to vibe or not, rather than playing that little, okay, so what do you do? When's the pitch going to come? It's like, just be who you are. Have a good time. That's what I love about the VIP pub. Is like, you and I instantly clicked, and then Steve Morgan clicked when he made a joke about the presidential elections going on here, and you guys made fun of your parliament and the queen and all that other stuff, and it was just a great time. I was like, okay, cool, these people aren't here like being all stuffy and everything. And me and Steve clicked right away, had a private conversation. He and I are doing stuff. He's a magnificent guy. So yeah, that's my urging to you guys out there. You guys know from the Raw and Unscripted show that I'm always telling you guys just to be who you are.
By the way, that discussion created a quarantine kind of group called Political Persuasion. One of my rules with the groups is no politics and no religion, because politics is so binary and divisive. Here in the UK in 2016, we had a referendum to leave the world's largest trading bloc, Brexit, of course.
Yeah.
And you either voted to remain or you voted to leave. And it's actually split families up and friendships up. I refuse to let issues like that get in the way of friendship. Crazy. Same with your president and what's been happening there. It's too dangerous, if you like, to mention these things. I could talk about your president all night, but I've got to be mindful of the fact that everyone's got different opinions, and they might not be congruent with mine. And so what? They're still human beings, and let's stay friends.
Thank you for saying that, Mark. I know that's part of what I did my walk and talk on this morning, was that was just that. It's like, it's caused me to really identify, okay, where is it that I'm going, and who am I going to be moving forward? Of course, embracing, who I am and being vocal and being confident. That's one aspect of it. Part of that was people coming to me and saying, hey, Chris, you have a platform, you have a big mouth, you talk, how come you're not taking sides? How come you're not putting your stake in the sand to which, opinion you have about the president, or which opinion you have about this or that? And I have, definitely, I'm not afraid to make my opinion known. I'm definitely not afraid of that. But I try to do it in such an eloquent way that it doesn't say you're wrong or you're bad or anything to the negative, anything that's divisive. And I've had some arguments with people like, well, this person is picking that, and what they're saying is this. I'm like, you're inferring that person is saying that. That person is picking somebody based on a whole other set of criteria besides politics. It's all based on psychology and based on other things that are going on. So I love that you say that, Mark, because it really is. It breaks my heart to see, even in my own family, even in my own extended family, I should say, everybody in my family's dead. My extended family, I've seen it do that, like really just cause people to come to tears over stuff that you really have zero control over. So I appreciate you saying that, man. Yeah. It's marvelous. So what is the procedure? What kind of procedure do we want to set up to invite people to come explore or to check this out, the WhatsApp group? I'm happy to help them. What is usually the orientation? I was indoctrinated by Sally, who set me up and like, okay, here's what you do. What is usually the process for people who are interested in getting involved in the WhatsApp groups?
Sure. I'm actually on a mission at the moment to educate Americans how to use WhatsApp. And there's a huge paradox there because it's an American product. 2 billion people use WhatsApp globally. That's about a quarter of the world's population.
Mm-hmm.
In Europe, India, and elsewhere, it's pretty much ubiquitous. Everyone uses it. But in its birthplace, the good old USA, a lot of people do not use WhatsApp. And I've been showing them how to use WhatsApp, and it's just literally opened up their eyes to a whole new world, literally.
Yep.
And then I can introduce them to people almost in real time on the fly. In terms of protocol and how it works, you do it right, Chris. You totally get it. You're absent for maybe a week or two. No hard feelings. But occasionally you dip in and you don't panic because you've missed 648 messages. You just have a quick look to see what's going on and you engage. And that's exactly what it's about, engaging with people. And listen, you know, time is something you don't really have much of. But the fact is that you do occasionally pop in there. It's fantastic. That's what it's all about. In fact, that group that you're in is reaching capacity. 256 is the maximum allowed in a WhatsApp group. So I'm going to have a purge soon and get rid of what's called lurkers. And lurker is internet slang for someone who's a member of a internet community but doesn't actually actively participate. I removed someone a few weeks ago. He's a top entertainer in Las Vegas, really great guy, but he never engaged. So yeah, I could have Barack Obama in there. By the way, he follows me on Twitter for some strange reason. But if he doesn't engage, then what's the point? You know.
Right.
It's all about that engaging.
Absolutely.
Engagement. And yeah, take an interest in people. And as I say, don't panic or don't try and backpedal if you see lots of missed messages. These WhatsApp groups can be a little bit chaotic. They can be cross-talk and whatnot. But my job, Chris, is to act as your filter. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I have been sending you very occasionally. But you know, if the subject of podcasting crops up, I take a screenshot and send that to you privately.
Yes, thank you.
And then you've been diving in at the appropriate stage. So I'm basically acting as your filter in the groups, and I'm happy to do that for anyone else that joins the group. So telephone numbers are what the backbone to WhatsApp. WhatsApp is owned by Facebook, and even Facebook have endorsed me for my networking skills, which is quite humbling and good for my brand. So if you come across any Series A situations, anyone that Facebook might be interested in acquiring, let me know, and maybe there's a deal to be done there. So the phone number always acts as the backbone. The fact that with WhatsApp it's the world's #1 messaging platform for texting. It's almost like the free phone calls and the free video calls is a bonus. You know, a nice little add-on there. Free video calls and phone calls for life. It's all ad-free. It's free for life. They make their money on the data. There was a group of us recently talking about the island of Bora Bora in a WhatsApp group. And then an hour later, one of the members got an email from Booking.com, a totally separate company, offering them hotel rooms in Bora Bora. Now, some might say that's a bit big brothery. Others might say it's a fair trade-off. I mean, Facebook have to monetize somehow, and it's so valuable for me, WhatsApp. I'm more than happy to get an occasional, very, very targeted ad somewhere as a result. It doesn't bother me. It's a fair trade-off as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you had alluded to it in the beginning of our conversation, Mark, and I want to touch on that before we end the show, is that when I said, you know, how do people do this? They said they hire you. Talk to us about that experience. If somebody says, you know what, I want to do all this stuff, but I don't know where to get started. I want somebody to guide me and to make me successful in this process. What does that journey look like for somebody who comes and sees you and wants to hire you?
Okay, so I offer a 1-hour from the techniques needed in order to network virtually on WhatsApp. It doesn't take long. It's only an hour. If you need a bit longer, not a problem. But there I teach you all about the techniques and the methods needed in order to network virtually. But I, like every other self-employed individual, is gunning for the retained clients, people who pay me every month to retain my services. If you do retain my services, you get me for 7 days a week, because I work weekends, ongoing support, anytime, any questions, but more importantly, you get access to my enormous network where I can open doors for you and introduce you to amazing people like Christopher Rausch.
Oh man, awesome. Thank you. And for those of you guys watching, of course, you're seeing Mark's website going down along the bottom, virtualpowernetworking.com. You know, honestly, guys, I mean, we've said it so many times, and I can't even believe it's already been almost nearly an hour, Mark, talking about this, but you know,
put the number in there, put the numbers. That's the best way to connect with me.
Nobody's gonna connect with you. Come on. No, I was gonna do that next. But really, where do you, I mean, obviously we're hearing stories about vaccines now. We're hearing, you know, the pandemic could potentially be over next year. That aside, where do you see virtual networking going? Where's the next level for that to be going to?
Well, the pandemic is a game changer. I personally think we've seen the end of the 9 to 5 as we know it in this country. I mean, when you think about it, cramming thousands of people into tubes and onto highways in a 2-hour window first thing in the morning and creating all that traffic jams and it's doesn't make sense. The feedback I'm getting is a lot of bosses are now going to be cancelling the rental agreements on the offices because they're realizing that this remote working works.
Yep.
Shit is getting done. Personally, if I was still back in corporate life, my ideal work-life balance would be 1, maybe 2 days in the office. So you've got that social interaction going on with real human beings in real life, and then the rest of the time remotely. But people are talking about this remote work as if it's something new. 20 years ago, I moved from Hamburg in North Germany to Tenerife in the Canary Islands, the island of eternal spring, because I knew that my future lay online, thanks to a guy called Tim Berners-Lee. Does that name ring any bells?
Tim Berners-Lee? No.
He invented the World Wide Web.
Oh.
And then, because I knew that geography was not relevant, I figured I'll go and live somewhere hot and sunny. And I lived in Tenerife for 6 years. And, you know, and now Wall Street Journal and Forbes and whatnot are talking about this remote working like it's something new. It's not new. It's been around for a long time. And I've got a love-hate relationship with my smartphone. On the one hand, it's an office, it's a dictionary, it's a TV, it's a radio, it's a search engine, it's so much, and a phone, of course. But paradoxically, these devices are killing off the human, the communication that matters the most as human connection. Because in any train or bus or down the high street, everyone's on these smartphones. I actually spent the bulk of my career in the telecoms industry, and I've written a piece a few months back called "Mobile and Me: A Love-Hate Relationship." But I see that this remote working is here to stay, and I think more and more employers, instead of remote working being like a bit of a freaky thing to ask for work-life balance, more and more employers are receptive to it. And there are more and more remote-only companies. Twitter announced a few months back that all of their staff are at liberty to work at home in perpetuity. But as I say, I find this whole at home talking of working at home a little bit misleading, because the whole world is our office, Chris. If you're in the brain game, you can do your podcasts anywhere in the world, really. You know, so as long as you've got the camera and the equipment and the bare essentials that you need, you could actually do your podcast from Bora Bora. So I'll see you there. Deal?
Great.
It's on my bucket list, Bora Bora.
Oh yeah, the huts over the water with the glass bottoms.
Yeah.
Oh, my wife and I were just talking about that. Our 20-year anniversary is coming up. We're like, we better start saving because I heard it's rather expensive. But yeah, that would be the quintessential place to be able to go and relax and go, wow, oh, I can work from here too.
Or if you come and visit me and your other UK friends in the United Kingdom, you could stay here for, say, 3 or 4, 5 weeks, but continue working. I like the idea of, and I've done it myself many times, like working vacations, where you just go to different places and continue working, but in a totally different environment. And that way you get the best of both worlds. You're having a change of scene, and having a holiday, maybe relaxing, but also you can do your work as well. And so another thing that's on my bucket list is I want to work next to a waterfall.
Nice. Yep. I want to work next to the sound of the ocean. That is my goal, to be able to sit out on the balcony and write and coach and be able to hear the actual ocean right there.
There's something about water, isn't there? There's something that's very, very calming. And I'm a fire sign. I'm Aries, but I don't, something about water in me. I just find water really, and when I'm near water, I can hear myself think better.
Yeah, it's so true. I'm a Pisces and I don't even know too much about it, but I have realized that my 2 houses that I've owned have both had pools, and up until having my son, I really never went in it. But just having water near me has always been super important for my own health and wellness. For whatever reason, my astrologist people tell me like, oh yeah, it's because you're a water sign and all this stuff. So I'm like, okay, cool. But water signs and everything else, regardless, Marc, what you have shared with us today in this hour has been absolutely tremendous. I mean, the value that you've given to the viewers and people listening to this on the podcast is truly tremendous. And for those I really want you guys to connect with Marc. You guys know me. You guys trust me. I know and trust Marc. He's a tremendous individual. I'm sure you've got that from this hour. So connect with him. Here's his number on the screen for you guys listening. It is +44 7906 786 505. Again, I'll say it. Plus, you got to use the plus sign, 44 7906 786 505. Connect with Marc. Send him a message right now. Send him a message as soon as you're seeing us and just say, hey, man, great show. Really appreciate it. I'm interested in whatever it is that we can do together. Marc, and also, of course, like I said before, making sure that you get a hold of him through his website, virtualpowernetworking.com. Again, virtualpowernetworking.com. Make sure you're connecting with him there. And feel free to hit me up for whatever groups I'm in. I'm actually going to be joining some more groups, Marc. Like you said, I have been in and out a little bit, trying to juggle the 4-year-old and everything else, which has been a blessing. But definitely want to dive into more of the groups and looking at my 2021 strategy for connecting and what it is that I want to do in the world and help kids and help unite the place. So I can't thank you enough for putting this all together. Being the person that you are and the connector and sharing your journey, like you said at the beginning of the show, warts and all and everything. I love that. I'm a fan about that. I've never had a wart. I've had zits. So I usually say zits and all because I've never had a wart. But any final thoughts, man? Any final thoughts you want to tell the viewers and the people that are listening to this about what they should be considering in their future professional success, including the virtual networking?
Well, if coronavirus doesn't bring out the inner hustler in you don't have one, quite frankly. I recently spoke to Megan, our friend down in Beverly Hills. She's just reinvented herself as a Zoom coach. I mean, that's just, in a way, it's kind of common sense. Look at what's happening and reinvent yourself. I mean, Zoom, we've all heard of the Zoom boom. And Zoom fatigue, Zoom this, Zoom that, but a lot of people aren't actually using Zoom to its full capacity. So she seized the initiative and self-taught herself how to use Zoom to the max, and now she's teaching others how to use Zoom. So that's a great example of adapting to the situation that we all find ourselves in. And moving forward, become a Zoom coach yourself. She'll hate me for saying that now because I'm creating competition. Yeah. But I mean, how many Zoom users are there? It's uncountable. Yeah,
it's true. It's true. Yeah. It's about being that resource. It's about finding the need and filling it. I had a friend of mine when StreamYard first came out, which we're recording the show on. StreamYard first came out, and he was figuring out the bells and whistles, and before I even knew it, he was offering a course. Growonline.com. He was like, let's go on here. And he just started doing it and teaching people. And, it's not that difficult, but when a bunch of people are coming to you, they'll give you $1,000 to teach them how to do the fast way. It's a niche. I mean, it's so true, Marc, being that resource and being able to pivot is so paramountly important. And I just can't thank you enough for being on the show. Thank you for coming in from the UK.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, dude, we'll definitely have more conversations. Definitely. I wanted to squeeze you in and get this out later this year because of the importance of what it is that it means to plan that 2021 strategy for success. And getting involved in these groups now is a great way to start building those relationships, as Marc said, being able to do that. So, brother, I'm going to take us out here for a second. Any final words you want to share with anybody before I let you go? And then you just stay backstage for a second and we'll talk, and then I'll just end the show. But any final last words for everybody?
Keep rocking and keep it raw and unscripted, people.
Awesome, Marc. You are a stellar gentleman. Hang on for just a second. I'll end the show, but thank you once again. And we'll be talking backstage here in just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, 1 hour and 2 minutes. I promised you guys I was going to try to keep these under an hour moving forward, but of course we have, very important information that we're sharing about your future and about your role in creating your future. Like Marc said, if you haven't taken this particular opportunity, and you guys have heard me say it probably hundreds and hundreds of times, if you're not pivoting in this point, and if you're not becoming stronger, if you're not learning your niche, if you're not growing your sales capabilities or your branding capabilities or your social networking capabilities, or whatever it is that you want to do and create in your life during this time where you have this kind of break from everything else, you really need to examine what your priorities are. You need to examine whether or not you're in a victim mindset, or a victor mindset. Life is about hustle. Life is about being resourceful. Life is about having grit. I teach how to be unstoppable. People say, how do you be unstoppable, Chris? And they're expecting me to give them like this 10,000 word speech. And I'm like, don't stop. Keep going. Keep trying to figure it out. Keep curious. Keep going after what it is that your legacy is about. And if you don't know what your legacy is about, that's where you got to start. Figure out what your legacy is. Who do you want to be remembered for? What example do you want to set for the kids that are following you right now? What beacon do you want to be in this world for your time being here? And then work backwards from that. And of course, that's going to involve relationships. That's going to involve something else I talked about earlier, is your comfort zone. Jesus Christ, guys, if you're staying in your comfort zone, if you're looking for certainty and safety and predictability, that's not what life is about. No, it's called living. Some people are existing, some people are living. The existing people are sitting there playing it safe, predictable, and guess what's going to happen to them? They're going to get older in life and they're like, wow, that was boring. It was safe and everything was predictable, but wow, I didn't take any chances. I didn't jump off any cliffs. I didn't soar. I didn't fly. I didn't have exhilaration in my life. I didn't have the ups and downs of what it means to be here living on this planet. So what are you doing? Are you staying predictable? No, I hope not. I hope by the fact that we've brought you the show, we bring you these shows, that you're getting anxious about what it is that you're going to become. Who is going to be the next version of who it is that you are? I'm constantly growing and changing and evolving and putting myself out there in uncomfortable situations and finding there's comfort in being uncomfortable, because as long as you're going to get through it and it's not going to be a bad thing, then what's uncomfortable about it? It's just new. So you could phrase your situation like, oh, networking is awkward and uncomfortable, or you could phrase it and shift your perspective to say, it's something that it's exciting and new. Again, like I'm afraid of something. I'm excited about something. It's the same physiology in your body, but it's the way your mindset pictures it. If you picture it as a problem or a chore or a hassle or anything else, guess what? You're likely not to do it. But if you look at it as something exciting, an opportunity, where is this going to take me? What adventure? Who am I going to meet? What kind of conversations am I going to have? Then you need to get in there. You need to get in the WhatsApp groups. I'm in there. I've met some phenomenal people already, and I really haven't maximized its use, admittedly. But I've met some amazing, phenomenal people, and I'm looking forward to meeting so many more people in this opportunity. So I want to see you guys in there. Please connect with Mark. If you have any questions, of course, you can always reach out to me. I can help you out as much. I can do a soft introduction to you, to Mark, but take advantage of this offering and go have a communication with him. Meanwhile, let us know what we can do here at the Raw&Unscripted show, what kind of topics you want to see, what kind of guests you want to see. If you know somebody you saw on another show would be good for this show, send me an email, Christopher@ChristopherRausch.com. It's super simple. Just do that. And until then, be sure to stay unstoppable, stay kick-ass, stay classy, and rock on with your bad self.